Are you here?
Hi, Emma.
I am here. I'm having technical difficulties. I'm trying to move my computer station with my lunch.
Oh, no problem. So Kendra was just talking about what are the things that people care about, what are the things that people agree upon, and maybe focus on some of those aspects of our campaign. Before that, I was saying that something that came up at the Green Dialogue on Wednesday was putting stuff on the green map where there are pictures and where there are examples of projects or backyards or front yards or just cool things that are going on or exist in our community.
I think those are really great ideas and a good starting point of how to come together on the issue and how to educate broadly too. I think it would be interesting to send out, I mean, I'm always happy to like contact my MCC group, but you know, just to see if we have people out there who are having good interactions, or like what kind of interactions with the wetland are you having? I know a lot of people, like I have a contact, Betty Segal, who she doesn't happen to live next to a wetland, I don't think, but she's going to be one of my champions for my native plant program because she has a huge native garden and she's been doing it for years. So, you know, like you're saying, how can we kind of showcase those good experiences with wetlands too? And I don't know if that's a matter of reaching out to the community or, you know, what that looks like.
What was your last sentence? Your last statement? Sorry. You mentioned your champion folks who've got are good examples. Then then what did you say?
So, and I said, I don't know exactly what that looks like, you know, if that's just like us reaching out to the community and asking, you know, those people to kind of share their story or their experience or what their situation is. Maybe it's someone who's having a bad effect of like the flooding, and then, you know, they're open to doing work to help the wetland that they live next to. You know, I guess I'm not sure what that would look like, but I think it would be really cool to get the community, like you're saying, involved in getting examples there for people to see real life, you know.
Well, Valerie Lafferty, our new environmental commissioner, and you've met her at some of our dialogues. She was talking about some listening sessions or maybe a follow-up survey that we would do after the results of our community-wide survey. But maybe part of that could be one way to reach out and get some stories. On Wednesday, I just invited people to share pictures, and we can put those, we can upload those to the map or link those to the green map. I think it was Bill that showed a really cool picture of Briarwood Pond. It's got a nice buffer strip around it, and it'd be cool to just have stuff like that that people could see, and then maybe a link for more information about, you know, how to maintain your pond or you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think something that I was thinking of too, that I've just been thinking a lot on this. And when we were talking at the Land Pres board meeting last night, and Steve was bringing up a point of like, there's so many different areas we want to protect, and it is so frustrating, and you know, just beyond wetlands too. So I think, you know, we want to focus on wetlands, but I think it's great to focus on, you know, that we all live in the Red Cedar watershed, and those wetlands live in the Red Cedar watershed, and they work together too. And so kind of bringing that word in when we can as well, to really piece together the big picture for everyone.
Yeah, oops, I think I moved it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, I protecting all of it, right? I mean, it's all about having the clean water, right? And if and the trees that he's talking about, which of course I love trees, right? Like if
Right.
we had the trees in the buffers, that would be helpful, right?
Yes.
And those deep roots. I mean, maybe we can throw the love of trees along in with this, right? Because people don't really have a good sense of wet, really wet, maybe they do, wetlands. We could throw the trees in there, native plants, whether you care about turtles or something or other. People care about that. But really what it comes down to is protecting our watershed, right? And anything that comes down here is going to end up in the red cedar and eventually into Lake Michigan, right? And so people love Lake Michigan.
We love our lakes. Yeah.
Does anyone not love Lake Michigan? I mean, right? Like, does anyone not? I don't know. Right. And people just feel so disconnected from it. I have a friend she goes to Lake Michigan every single weekend. And, but yet, I said, did you know that anything we put on our, water here can get to there? And she's like, huh? Like what? Like, it's hard for people to see that. Right. So,
well, and the Grand River is another, and the red cedar, of course, feeds into all that. But I think people can maybe understand the Grand River well too, because it literally leads directly through, Lansing right into Lake Michigan. And I think Jane Greenway and I were talking about this morning, where we do feel like Michigan does really appreciate their natural resources. We love our lakes. And so there is a lot to be said around the recreational use in Michigan. So being able to kind of take that passion and turn it into more conservation, stewardship. Yeah. Which I know the DNR has been dealing with that for a long time, like how do we juggle recreation and responsible use and stewardship? And so, yeah, it is a big issue to tackle, but I think it's also interconnected that there's a lot we could do with that.
I can't remember who was telling me about on Torch Lake. You can't fertilize up there anymore because it's taking out that beautiful color up there. I mean, and that's a visual that at least some people would know about, and so how do we connect, help people understand that the actions that we take kind of get down to those, places too. Not that the watershed here goes to Torch Lake, but that's
right.
a visual kind of thing, but people love Lake Michigan or whatever. So, kind of combining it all together, because it's not just strictly, I mean, this better than I do, but like wetlands aren't just like, I mean, all the vegetation that's in there, along with the fairy shrimp that we're talking about, or vernal pools, or different kind of all the little critters that are in, I call them critters, I don't know all their names, but like
I like
all the little critters, all the little critters that are in there that protects, like maybe pictures of all of those different things, right? Because even when you had those birds listed on Davis Foster, I'm like, oh, we have seen like 51 varieties of birds. As of yesterday, we got a wood thrush. Those ones we have seen in our yard. And that's includes the one we hear, right? And so those are all of those ones connected, just to that one preserve and wetland. And so what is it that people care about? And anyways, how do we sort that out and get the message through them? I don't know what that is other than.
Yeah, do they like something furry, like a charismatic mammal, or they just like to look at it? I think one of the things too that people always think about, I mean, and for centuries, I mean, when you read about conservation ethics around wetlands, the hardest thing is that society has forever looked at wetlands as swamps. And that's been like the name given for so long, in that they were useless. And so, of course, like us talking about this flooding benefits and all that, I think when people think of a wetland, they think of a stagnant, still thing, mucky. And so, yeah, being able to connect it with those benefits, and then the actual movement that it's a part of within the watershed is important. And I think it's definitely a hard, it's one of those societal things that's going to be hard to unravel in people's minds, that they're very useful and not just crap. Well, and our mosquito year has been hard too with that, because
although I was saying relationships with mosquitoes for us are better by the wetlands in their front yard, or excuse me, our backyard versus our front yard is crazy. You can't even be out there, but the backyard, at least we have the folks, the different coming
So
to eat
you
the
could be
mosquito.
one of those showcases. No,
Yeah,
because
perhaps.
you have a balanced yard. You live next to one of our most diverse wetlands in the township. Our Nancy
Mhm.
Moore wetland is like all reed canary grass. It's a monoculture. It's not a very healthy wetland. And so yeah, you're not, we don't see the numbers of swallows and those birds that are so again, and that's what we talked about in that home TV video is those pesky species won't be bad if we take care of our wetlands, but that's the
That's
other thing,
true.
we have to take care of them to see those results. So
For
yeah,
sure.
so that could be a good example of what it looks like when it's healthy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, right. So things that people are deterred by, the mosquitoes. And so when you were talking earlier, I just had a vision in my mind thinking about what Brandy said last week, is just like even showing like a little video of a pesky mosquito and how like the wetland critters will or like swallows or different kinds of things at the wetlands will come and eat it, like all of that kind of stuff, like considering that. And the other thing before you said mosquitoes, I was thinking about was imagining like some sort of video of like rain coming down and then kind of where that goes and and then into a wetland and the critter and a whole bunch of critters along the way, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And then how does that get to, go to the Red Cedar and then Grand River and then into, Lake Michigan, like kind of having those videos that connect somehow, just like a kind of a quick, educational kind of thing, and drawing in a bunch of, I don't know, whatever people care about. I mean, I don't know what people care about other than.
I wonder if it would be, I just keep having in my head, well, I used to teach a groundwater program at Waldemar, and we had one of those groundwater models, and the kids got to see that, with food coloring, runoff, and how like if you don't have a deep well, you suck the water up and it's got the food coloring in it. Like simple visual things like that are so impactful. And so I don't know if that means like maybe we connect with someone at MSU, a professional who can give a talk, or like we could do a series that we host, or maybe Harris could host one or something, and we just have an educational series about watersheds and wetlands. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot, but at least down the road, I like all the educational campaign stuff we're talking about, but I think it would be interesting to have some, actual like almost seminars or something where there's a professional there talking, maybe they have some visuals, they have a PowerPoint, and we can record those types of things, and then we can archive at that and have, things like that for people to check out at their own time.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of this My Solar Stories that were on Zoom, where we had a 45-minute Zoom recording it's linked to the different solar stories that happened in Meridian. And so you can go watch that 45-minute video and learn about the person's solar installation. We could do something similar, Kendra talking about her project, or we could do something, if we're having something about turtles, expert on turtles, or groundwater, Lauren Schnobelen could do something on groundwater.
Well, I was just
That's
thinking,
great.
yeah, I was just thinking about like having little even pictures of like, these are all the wildlife that the wetlands support, right? And these are out of all of these things that the wetlands support, these number of these animals will eat birds, whatever, will eat those mosquitoes, right? And ticks too, that will eat those things up, and maybe have something pop out and eat that thing up. I mean, like, so those kinds of things might be helpful, because that's what people, help people understand what the importance of, along with watching the water kind of flow into the wetland as the sponge thing, right? Like the tree, the trees soaking it up, the different vegetation soaking it up or holding onto it and releasing it as it needs to. I don't know how that works, honestly, other than I know it happens, but like that's your territory, Emma. But like, so but like, I don't know why I'm all of a sudden thinking in pictures, because that's not the way I work, but like that, maybe those visual kind of things to help draw people in with stuff a little bit. So that's what I'm thinking about,
Yeah.
like kind of a social media kind of thing, along with the educational piece would be great too. But, you know, for now, I think the beginning stages, we just have to start getting the word out and getting like what Denise wrote. I mean, which was great, along with the wetland brochure. I was talking, LeRoy and I were talking a little earlier before you joined, like, you know, people have different learning styles. So, you know, the letter that Denise had there, you know, with the brochure, perhaps, you know, kind of thing together, depending on who will read what kind of thing, you know, because that information just has to get out there. And then we can do the educational campaigns as follow-ups too, but the information just has to get out there as a start.
So working on like the information app, I don't know if I just chimed in on some of those emails because I just got back in the office technically yesterday afternoon, but we're working on revising the Living with Wildlife page right now because they're, you know, we're doing all these revisions that are due tomorrow for the website. And when I was reading that wetland, which I thought that was great, what they sent over, or all that information was awesome. And so we have a Living with Wildlife, but what about living with wetlands? And having a sub page just like the Living with Wildlife one, only talking about all those different points. Because people really, I mean, they do use the website for those things. I mean, we know because we have people calling about deer and all these different issues, and so we can refer them to the website. Sometimes, you know, it's not for everyone, but a lot of people do use it. So that's a way, one of the vehicles that we could use to get the information out.
Yeah, so we've got the letter and the brochure that can go out fairly soon, hopefully. I'm willing to take a stab at doing some edits on the letter, which is, and then we've got the website. I just sent out sort of a schedule, sort of a seasonal schedule of topics. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, Emma. I just sent it out 20 minutes ago.
Okay, nope, I
But
didn't get it to you.
it was partly an effort to respond to the communications department about recycling and waste reduction and all the things that I was concerned about last year. And they were feeling overwhelmed and said, put together a plan. And so this was part of that, just tweaked a little bit for our latest discussion about green infrastructure and wetlands and water related topics. So if we have like a weekly social media post, like the Think Green Thursday post on a topic, whether it's mosquitoes or turtles or wetlands or hazardous waste, we just need to put that schedule together. So there's social media posts, there's the website. I love the idea of living with wetlands. There's the letter. Mention some other videos that might be produced or educational pieces.
Oh, that not simple to do by any means, but that's just kind of longer. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but
Some of that may already exist too. I think the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission's My Watersheds just has a ton of stuff that could be interwoven as we need to fill some gaps.
Yeah, they
Right.
have really a lot of great resources. And yeah, that's the other thing too. We don't need to totally reinvent the wheel on everything.
Yeah,
Of
for
course, we
sure.
need to
That's
make our, you know, our own stuff for our township. But yeah, they have so many good things.
Yeah, that's good.
We do have the possibility of putting some sites on this upcoming solar and sustainable tour on October 2nd, adding stuff to the green map. So I can send out that link if you guys have any thoughts on things that might be good for the virtual tour, or maybe pictures of, I've got all of our parks and all of our preserves on there. But maybe
Do we
maybe
want to
could-
highlight maybe some of them that
Yeah.
for wetland value alone?
Yeah,
And just kind of pick them out, maybe like the Davis Foster wetland is really phenomenal.
Mhm.
So yeah, we could, and you said that's a virtual tour. So are you thinking like video, or I guess, what does that format look like?
well, the National Solar Home Tour starts on October 2nd. And the idea was to take, there's like 7 or 8 installations in the township that had the solar stories on Zoom that we could link to. So the idea is that you can drive by some of them, and then you can also click the link and learn about it. And then we'll have somebody at the marketplace, and have people from our energy team there to talk a little bit about those solar there. But the idea was to expand it a little beyond solar to include sustainability. So when people are going to this virtual map, the green map, which you have seen, was a green infrastructure focus originally, but they can learn about some of these parks, nature preserves. So how to highlight those for this tour, I'm not sure, but I like the idea of highlighting ones that are more attractive and ones that could be visited.
Maybe we could do, by the way, I don't know if it was solely you or who worked on that solar series, but I just think it's wonderful. And I think we could, with our wetland campaign, model so much after that, because you're hitting all the points of, educating about it, showing real life examples, having those real life people talk about it. It's such a great program. So kudos to everyone involved in that. So I think, maybe something we could do is that I'd love to do this, but I could always do like a short virtual tour of the wetland that could be linked somehow. I don't know if that's possible, but and then if people do want to go out on their own, they at least have some kind of background on the wetland or some highlights of it, maybe just like a quick 2-minute or so video. I don't know if that's possible though.
Well, I love that idea, especially, like you say, the Foster Davis Preserve, or there's a couple that we really want to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Davis Foster is so beautiful right now. I walk down the road, in the morning with that east, or the sun from the east coming on over, on the west side of the road with the barn. It's so stunning. It's just so beautiful. It's really, really pretty. So I think it's a good time to get the video there.
I think the interesting thing too is that it's such a great way to highlight wetlands aren't just what a lot of people think of as like water with cattails around it. It can be a wet meadow, and be like this wildflower field essentially. And so maybe that's a more charismatic way too to get people to care, is showing some of those different, really just beautiful places that aren't just like, oh, I just went hip deep in mud and water. So
exactly. Yeah, because all of the different variety of species of plantings there, right? They're so, it's just beautiful.
So we got social media, we've got the letter, we've got the website, we have existing videos, My Watersheds, we've got the tour coming up, maybe doing some coming up with some sort of modeled after the solar stories.
So when is that, LeRoy, just so I can plan and make sure I get out and take some footage? And if we're on board with that, I can get started on that really quickly.
Oh, it kicks off October 2nd at the,
Okay.
But the idea is that it's through the entire month of October. And the cool thing is that that's mostly a solar focus. We could do this, we can have this resource available all the time.
Yeah, being the footage right now, Davis Foster would be fantastic, right? With it, the way that it looks right now, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And the weather's really nice right now too. So, although I'll probably have to go out with a mosquito net on, but I don't know if they're that bad in the middle there. They're getting better. So
for sure. With the colder weather and with a little bit of a breeze, it's usually pretty decent. I guess when I tend to walk, is with that. So
I'm hoping
Yeah.
this colder weather kind of kicks them in the butt.
I took this picture this morning and this is my front yard.
Oh, wow.
It's not a real bird.
Oh,
oh, I thought it was.
that's hilarious.
It's actually a deer in disguise.
Oh, wait.
No, it's not.
Oh, gosh. I was like, where? I thought you meant there was like a deer camouflaged in there. That's hilarious.
The sun, the last 2 mornings, the sun has been amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's been
Mhm.
absolutely my favorite kind of weather lately.
The one thing we were saying, Emma, about like, the wetlands look differently. It's not just the cattails. It's like the different vegetation. I think LeRoy, you mentioned this maybe yesterday too. It's like we have all these different kind of wetlands, and these are what these look like. And then, one of these might be connected to your property or in, down the road from you or whatever. And so these are the things that we need to do to help protect them, because this is what it helps. This is how it helps you, right? Like not only these are what the rules are, but this is how it helps you. We all hate mosquitoes. So these, we allow the, places for the wildlife to be so they can come out and eat the mosquitoes. That would be, beneficial versus like people spraying for the mosquitoes and and the pesticides and all of that kind of stuff which are killing the natural the folks who are going to be eating up the mosquitoes, right? Which is perpetuating the problem. I mean, it's a different kind of space to another kind of way to look at it. People are either like kind of positively motivated or negatively motivated, right? Like, and sometimes people are both. So how do you
passionate?
True. Exactly. So how do you find, what will work for, I'm just thinking about different ways that things will work for different people.
Yeah. Those are great thoughts. And I think it's really nice that, I mean, yes, the township did spray around the buildings a couple times this year, and there's just like one athletic field that they spray. But I mean, out of the 1,700 acres of township property, we just kept telling residents, you just had to be patient. We're not spraying. We're not, we're protecting these areas over getting rid of the mosquitoes, and we're going to let nature take its course. So that always helps too, to back that up with, we're actually practicing that in our parks and preserves. I mean, the areas that they were spraying was so minuscule compared to like,
right.
So I think that's great too. It's nice that we can like really take a stand with that and say that we did that and followed through. So I think that's a really good way to look at the mosquito situation too.
So there's the plan that Home TV has asked for. There's the plan that we envision that might be beyond Home TV that relates to our existing programs, maybe yours, mine. We also talked about youth programs. This came up like, how do we reach the youth? And then another thing that's come up is like reaching neighborhoods and talking to neighborhood groups. But any thoughts on either of those?
I'm sorry, I'm paying attention to time and I got to run to get to a meeting. I might be able to, I don't have any thoughts about that at the current moment. But
okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to reach I think it's going to have to start with letters, education, different kinds of things, more things coming out. But the one thing I did want to say is World Wetland Day the best time for us to do this media campaign on a larger level? Is it the best time for that because it's in the middle of winter? Or is it better to do something around Earth Week, where people care and are connected a little bit more? I don't know the answer to that at all, but I just think about in the middle of the winter, like you learn something at that point in time, you get a little snippet, but does that hang on until like spring when you're starting to make decisions about yards and different
What
kinds
if we
stuff?
just did like a teaser on World Wetland Day? We were just kind of like, hey, it's World Wetland Day and we're working on all this great stuff or whatever, blah blah blah. And then March is right around the corner, and now we've got a annual wetland cleanup with the at least that I'll start doing. We're going to do one this fall again. And so just then there'll be activities to go out into a wetland. So I think we can make a nice timeline that will make sense, but I don't personally think it's a great time to release everything and really go at it, you know?
Right. Yep, exactly. All right.
Thanks for tuning in, Kendra. I'll try
Okay,
and
thanks.
summarize
You
just
guys.
some.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Kendra.
Can I talk to you for one
bye.
more minute,
Yeah.
Emma?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I can hang out. I did have an idea about the youth. Just ideas for reaching them. I have been working with quite a few of the students, and a lot of them are on your environmental commission meetings. They're so awesome. And I noticed a way that they really get involved with the wetlands is through invasive species. It just happens to be a subject that I think is being really taught a lot more in the science, studies. And I mean, that's why they like to come out to the work days. They're having me work with them to try to get Nob Hill treated, so they're really going after it like hardcore. And Phragmites is a huge wetland threat in species that we deal with all the time. So I just know personally that is one way that I'm engaging with a lot of the youth about wetlands. So just an idea. There's a wetland right outside of Okemos School, and I'm helping them get rid of the Phragmites there. So I think
Wow.
it just kind of makes sense in a way to go through some of that with them. But yeah.
That's awesome. Sounds good. Ironically, today and this week, there's been a kind of we just noticed that there's some clearing of a natural area going on right now by the roundabout.
Really?
It's I think they want to sell the property, so they're clearing out the underbrush.
Oh,
and they're
geez.
leaving most of the trees, or I think they're trying to leave all the trees, but it's just one of those interesting things that's happening as we speak.
Yes.
But part of it is like educating people just to know that what we can and can't be done. Because ideally they should have a permit to do this.
Yes.
And
we talked about this at the meeting last night. Yeah. It's upsetting that there's not more protection for everything, wetlands we definitely need protection, and it's so good it's there, but there's so much more that could be protected too, I think.
At the same time, you want to support people's doing creative things with their property. So anyway, whether anything can be done at this point is another question. And how hard does Meridian want to come down on these Pat Gillespie, who owns the property?
So we do know that it's like township property, and they want to or not township property, it's private property, but it's in the township, and they're doing a lot of work to sell it. So it hasn't been sold yet.
Right.
But
this is my
feel that
second hand.
Okay.
I bike by there every day. I noticed something going on, and then I asked them what was going on today when I went by, and they said they thought that the owner was wanting to sell the property, and so they're clearing out the underbrush.
And it's always contractors that don't know what's going on, and they're just blindly going around removing things and not paying a lot of attention. That happened right behind my house. Well, I think if we do think that, they're not following by the letter and they need permits, I guess it depends on what rule we think they're breaking, because we could just report it to Eagle, which I still don't think enough happens there a lot.
Keith and our planning department got right on it and did report it to code enforcement.
Oh, good.
But it's still an issue of contacting the owner and what's actually going to happen. So I don't know much about it.
Ask for forgiveness later too, and it's already done.
Right.
It's like Yeah, it's
Anywho.
unfortunate.
This has been a great conversation, and I love the stuff that you're doing. I didn't mean to be a downer about it, but it was sort of
No,
ironic that this is happening right now. And like, this isn't a guy who doesn't necessarily even live in the community wants to sell his property. And
no, I totally, it's just a reality. And Steve Thomas brought that up at our meeting and was just like, it's just a shame that, like stuff like that can happen. And he actually said too, because which I thought was interesting, he's a delineator and ecologist. And he said that our township has some of the strictest ordinances around wetlands in the state. So that was cool to hear. But then in my head, I was thinking, okay, yeah, but like, I'm glad we're working on this because then we can do the enforcement side more. Because I think even though it's an ordinance, doesn't mean that anything happens, unfortunately. I mean, there's only so many of us to do so much. But yeah, how do we get it across to people how to do things right? And
so, hi, Courtney.
hi.
Thanks for tuning in. Kendra was here. She just left a few minutes ago, and I offered to sort of summarize what we talked about. And then if we want to meet again next week, we can do that. But it's no mystery. You're muted. I don't know if you're saying anything or not, but I will do that right up, and I better do it soon before I forget what we talked about.
Yeah, I have to jump off I've got a meeting here at 3:30. And I've got to eat some lunch, but just because I've been taking some notes over here, and so I have, how do people connect to wetlands? And right now I've got, benefits such as flooding mitigation, charismatic flora and fauna, examples of residents who live, coexist with wetlands and they get the benefits, and then charismatic wetlands, so different types. And then as far as vehicles to get information out, letters to residents, website editions, like Living with Wetlands, social media, weekly post, videos, and of course our brochure. And maybe some of those series that we talked about.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm in my car, so I apologize. I'm really, really sorry. It escaped my mind, but it sounds fantastic. It sounds like we got a good plan. So I truly apologize.
You kind of broke up there, Courtney, for a minute. I think you broke up there, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm in the car. I just wanted to.
We lost you, but again, but we'll do a little summary and then plan on touching base next Thursday if that works for folks. We can tweak the time if it doesn't work. Emma, are you available at 11 o'clock tomorrow? We're going to meet at the roundabout and do some weeding.
Oh, yeah. So I might be. I have to do a lot of field work tomorrow. So
Okay, don't worry
I am
about it.
going to try my hardest, even just to get out there for like a half hour. But yeah, there's a lot of field work going on.
Well, sounds like you got your hands full. I think there's going to be 3 of us.
Oh, great.
But you could scope out the illegal land clearing that's happening on Kitty Corner if you want.
I'll be all sneaky or creepy and get pictures. No, no, I think I would definitely at least like to drive by that and see what's going on, because
Anywho,
it interests me.
thanks for
But
trying,
yeah.
Courtney. Just and for partly inspiring this effort here. Appreciate your support. You've really got the attention of Home TV, and whether we can squeeze any additional juice out of the Home TV is another question, but I think if we have a more of a clear plan, it'll be easier for them to latch onto it. So I'll make a
Yeah.
summary and send it out.
Cool. Well, I think we've got a good start. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Sounds good. Are you still there, Courtney?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Is there
Yeah,
anything
it's-
else you wanted to say?
No, nope. Just thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll be there next Thursday for sure.
Awesome. Thanks again.
All right. Talk soon.
Okay,
All
bye.
right. Bye.